Welcome to the show, Erin Claire Jones.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have a little time with you and eager to get into human design and what the hell that is and how it can benefit our lives. Before we do, how do you describe yourself when you introduce yourself to people?
Related to human design or just in life?
Just in life, someone's like, hey, what's up? What's your name and what do you do?
Okay. My name's Erin Claire Jones. I'm from Seattle. I live in New York with my partner, and I work with a system called human design, which is basically a way of better understanding ourselves and our partners and our teams and our parents, and really just stepping into our own unique potential. And I came from the business world, the startup world, and observed a lot of dysfunction. So I've always been very fascinated by just people and how they work. And human design has offered me such an outlet to really support people in understanding that on a deeper level.
Yeah, awesome. And what is human design? And then I want to hear some of the backstory of how you got into it. But just for the listener, what the hell is human design?
So, human design is a system based on your exact time, date, and place of birth. And the idea is that it really gives you your energetic DNA. And what I mean by that is how you're designed to make decisions, work within teams, build relationships, create opportunities for yourself, all the things. They're basically a bajillion configurations. And it really helps us understand like what is our own unique roadmap. I think we get really lost when we try to pursue paths that other people pursued or what we think we're supposed to be doing.
Mm.
And human design, more than anything, returns us to ourselves and gives us permission to be who we are.
Yeah, awesome. And I have so many questions about it, so I'm going to temper my own excitement to get in there.
Yeah.
How did you get into human design, and why human design over, say, Myers-Briggs or the Colby or the
Yeah.
Enneagram and astrology, and like why human
All the
design,
ones.
and how'd you get into it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always been very curious about different kind of assessment systems, mostly because I just like have always wanted to understand the people around me and how they work best. What drew me to human design, and then I'll tell you the origin story just for me, was that I had never met a system or discovered a system that felt like so cosmic in a way that I loved because it was based on our birth information. But the information itself was like so tactical and so grounded and so practical. And I just feel like there's so many systems out there that give us so much information, but then we have like no idea what to do with the information.
Uh-huh.
And I think human design's ability to just give us tools that we can literally integrate that day and to experiment with, I think would just like blew my mind because I just hadn't seen it very often. And I think I also came, as I mentioned, from a lot of just like dysfunctional startup environments. And I think I was immediately drawn to the application of human design in teams in terms of really kind of building teams in a more functional way by understanding how different each person was. So it just kind of bridged the cosmic and the practical in a way that was so appealing to me. And when I like discovered it, and basically how I discovered it, as I mentioned, I live in New York. I was sitting at a gathering in 2015. I was working at a different startup at that time. And this guy sat next to me and he's like, I'd like to look up your human design. I was like, I've got no clue what that is, but like, tell me everything because we love learning about ourselves. And he basically like told me so much that night that felt like it felt like stuff I already knew about myself, but I never really like allowed myself to step into. And I just felt like a lot of relief. I was like, I've tried so hard to walk a path that like has been so opposite to all this. And it just like hasn't like been very successful for me or felt very good. And so I felt a lot of relief. And he ended that conversation by being like, kid, do you want to build a business together? Do you want to do this? Like he just observed a lot of both potential in my design, but also compatibility of our design. So he invited me into human design and he was really my first teacher. We built a business together for 2 years. And then I started my own practice in 2017, and the one other piece that so I've been doing it literally ever since I was just like introduced.
Yeah.
One thing I'll share is that it's been like, I don't want to say like a rocky journey, but for the first couple of years, like the world was like, not into human design. It was so new, it was so out there, it was so niche. And I like gave up for a point in 2017 because I was like, I don't think people are ever, I can't predict when they're going to care. Like when they're ready for it, this is going to blow their mind, but I can't control when that's going to happen. And really it was like early 2018 that it just like blew up because I think people started talking about it in more accessible, practical ways. So it's been like a real rocket ship journey ever since. And now my fiance, boyfriend, partner is also my business partner.
Okay.
So it's been fun. Yeah.
Wow. And let's rewind prior to human design, prior to 2015, you said you were in the corporate world. Can you give us a sense of what was going on there in your life and why that, I'm assuming you, based on just who you are, that you got into personal growth and development somewhere maybe earlier, maybe in your adolescence or 20s. So
Yeah.
can you kind of walk us back in time a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was like, I've always been just interested in like all sorts of modalities. Like, even in high school, I was like trying to find the Shambhala Center in Seattle. My parents were like, what is Shambhala? What is meditation? What are you doing? But I was just like so curious. I went actually on a Thich Nhat Hanh retreat, his last one in the US.
Hmm.
And do you know who he is?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's like, and it was while I was in college, but I just like didn't even know who he was. I was like, I gotta go. It was actually in Colorado. So I just like I've always been exploring those things. That's always just been like my own personal journey. I didn't know whether or not I would relate to the work that I did. And then in college, I started studying entrepreneurship, and I wrote my thesis on like impact driven entrepreneurship. So I got really interested in just like businesses that had a social impact. And so straight after college, I went into startups and was there until human design. But I think what I found at the companies that I was working with is that like I just was like way more interested in the people that were working there than like anything else.
Hmm.
I was just like always observing dynamics. I kind of was the person that everyone would come to vent to. And I was just like, God, like the mission's amazing and the people are amazing, but like we just don't know how to function. So I think
Yeah.
it just felt like I was observing a lot of dysfunction. And I think simultaneous to all that, I was continuing all my certifications and studies and explorations, but it felt like two separate worlds. It felt like my work and my personal journey. And I think when human design was introduced to me, it just felt like it bridged everything together, where it felt like
Okay.
it could just be one thing. But yes, I think that I really was just, yeah, I was just curious. I think that I was really curious about people. And I think when human design landed, it was just such a beautiful, yeah, it was just a way of like integrating everything that I'd been exploring and thinking about into one thing.
Okay, cool. Now it's pretty, I had a friend, Josh, who's been on the podcast, give me a reading years ago, and it was pretty fascinating to me. And
Did it resonate?
I think it did. I don't remember. I'm wishing now that I had the notes. I probably do somewhere. I'm like, what did he say? And I thought it was cool. And he's a guy who loves maps and models and things. And for the listener that's new to it, it's just I'm just going to tell you my
Yeah, tell us.
greenness here, which is it looks complicated. And I studied the Enneagram for a little while, and I'm like, okay, that's simple. 9 numbers, 9 types. Okay, I can type myself pretty easy. When I
Yeah.
look at human design and I actually look at the map, it looks like an upside down Kabbalah from Judaism, and it
Yep.
looks complicated with all these numbers and stuff. So help me get my mind around this isn't complicated, and it's like pretty straightforward to use because I'm already blocked with like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
I know. I hear that often. I like tell people to look up their design. And if people want to look it up, as we go through, you can go to erinclairejones.com/lookup, but it's going to look crazy. It's not a thing that's super intuitive where you're like, oh my God, there's
Yeah.
my thing. You're just like, whoa. And I think what I want to remind people is that it's incredibly complicated. Human design is a lifelong study. I can do one session with somebody or I can do 40 sessions. Like
Uh-huh.
there's so much to dive into, but the information that is the most impactful is the information that's at the surface. And so even just knowing your type, your strategy, and your inner authority can be so transformative. So, and type is basically how you're designed to best use your energy. Strategy is how you're designed to best create opportunities for yourself. And inner authority is around how you're designed to best make decisions. And so even just like landing those two can shift so much. So even though I know it can feel like overwhelming, I would just say like start with the simplest pieces and like dive deeper when you're inspired. But like again, the simplest stuff is going to be the stuff that will actually be the most transformative.
Yeah, cool. And can we get into my human design?
Yeah, let's do it.
You have at least the rough sketch, right?
Oh, I've got the whole thing. So,
Oh, shit.
so just so you know, in human design, for everybody, there are basically 5 different types. And then there are so many other pieces. Type is just the first piece. There are like a bajillion configurations, but it is a really essential piece because it helps us know how best to use our energy. And you're actually such a great example because you and I have like opposite designs. So it's a good kind of reminder of just like how differently people can operate. So high level, there are manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. And so you are a manifesting generator. Do you remember hearing that from your friend Josh?
No.
No. It can fall out of the head pretty quickly, which is why it's good to have resources to like keep returning to. But basically what it means to be a manifesting generator is that like according to your design. And also what I'll just say to you and in general, like take what resonates, leave the rest. Like let this
Sure.
be a system that empowers you and feels good. And if it's like, doesn't feel good, then let it go. I think it's not a belief system. I'm never trying to convince people of anything, So as a manifesting generator, you really naturally have a lot of energy and life force to just kind of like build and create and make things happen. You might not want to like just choose one lane or be just one thing. Like you're kind of multi-passionate by nature, and it might feel good to have your energy in a couple different things at once. You also might not find that you have a super like linear career. You're not really meant to like stick with the same thing forever. For you, it's really about like honoring what you have the energy for. And when it's time to like pivot and move on, just giving yourself permission to do that, and not like feeling the need to like stick with something just because you think you should. Like what's most important is you being like lit up and satisfied and excited by what you're doing.
Yeah, it sounds.
Ideally, go ahead.
Can I just? It sounds like
Yeah.
a lot of entrepreneurs might fall into this category. Would you say that's true or not? Do they all have different types?
I
'Cause
think they all have different expressions of entrepreneurship.
okay.
I will say yes, because like, honestly, one of your gifts is bringing ideas to life very quickly. Like you're here to be busy, you're here to be creative, you're here to be lit up. So like you probably could be a very effective entrepreneur. But I think everyone can like manifest it in a different way, because one of your gifts, according to your design, is actually bringing ideas to life quite quickly and finding the most efficient way to get somewhere. But it also means that you might not always want to like handle all the steps along the way. So
Definitely.
I would say, what do you say?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. So I would say it's really good to have support around you and people around you that can like help you in like the step-by-step piece,
Yeah.
just so you can kind of like be in this like powerful creative flow, like dropping things and delegating when you want to, moving on to the next thing. Because again, your gift is bringing ideas to life quickly and creatively and powerfully. And, one of the biggest lessons for manifesting generators and generators too, is just around boundaries. Like, I know you run your own business, but like, you really have such energy and life force to like I said, build and create, that people can really want to take advantage of it. They just like sense your capacity. And so one of your biggest lessons is knowing that when you're lit up and excited by what you're doing, it benefits everyone. But when you're doing things just because you think you should, because somebody asked you, because you feel like you need to stick with something, it drains your battery so quickly.
Totally.
So really actually treating your own desires as like the primary thing to kind of guide your energy and be your compass.
Nice.
How does that all feel to you?
Yeah, that resonates. I love visioning and being creative and building things from the start, but I don't love the follow through to the finish line, and I don't love all the details.
Yes. And you can see why this is like so fun to work with teams on, because you're like, okay, people like have different roles. And if you expect, like, I would say for you, if you're managing a team, like if you expect the people around you to move as fast as you or have as much energy as you, you'll probably be really disappointed, but if you honor that they maybe bring a really different gift to the table, then it could feel really good.
Yeah. Nice.
And one other thing I would just say for you, and this is not going to be true for all manifesting generators, but for you, you got such creativity in your design. It's really important for you to have space in your days to just be like in your own creative flow, like not being interfered with, not having people like calling you for meetings all the time. Like you're super independent, like you can drop in and like be in teams, but like you're not really meant to be in that all the time. So I would make sure that you really have space to just be in your own flow. And again, I know that you have kids and you have families, so like you've got obligations, but times where you just like aren't messed with.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have any of that space?
I do. I've actually, just because I just finished my first book, I created that for myself, and it was enormous for me to be able to. It's the only way I could have done it, because I could, I'm that person that I could always keep doing a lot of activities, but not all of them are the best use of my time, right?
Yeah. You got the channel, we have different channels or strengths in our design. You've got the strength of being busy, which means that you can like really be busy doing anything. And for you, we'll talk about your inner authority, your gut, but like, it's just being really smart about like what to be busy for, because if there's not consciousness around it, you might just find yourself being like, I don't know what I did today. I use my energy, but not in a way that felt satisfying. And I do find that people that have designs similar to yours struggle a little bit working for other people, just because they've got such powerful energy that to have somebody else like tell you where to put it and how to use it can feel like a little bit confining. Like it's kind of really, you've got a very self-empowered, independent, doing things on your terms, following your own convictions. And often that's how you'll be most successful.
Makes sense. Okay. What about just inner authority or the strategy? I'm so curious about that part.
Yeah. So the strategy for your type is what we call waiting to respond. And the idea is that your energy is super magnetic. You're not really meant to chase after anything in your life. Like you're always pulling things towards you. And your work is to just keep your awareness open and see what shows up in your world. And as soon as something shows up and like lights up your gut, that's basically a signal to like go pursue it and make that thing happen. But you're like not really designed to come up with ideas out of thin air. It's like waiting for something in your environment, in your space to spark your gut response, which we'll talk about in a second, and let you know that you have the energy for that thing. And it's not a passive thing. You're not like sitting on your couch. Like you're here to be super busy, just like doing what you're excited by and what you enjoy and just seeing what shows up in your world when you do it, and if it feels like nothing's coming, like putting yourself out there, like, going on Instagram, like, reading your email, reading the news, talking to people, just like seeing what sparks your gut and what excites you, because that's going to be the signal to kind of know where to put your energy and when.
Okay.
Do you feel like you initiate and chase after most things, or do you feel that magnetic energy?
I feel both, but when I chase after things, it usually doesn't go well.
Right.
It feels more like strategy or just something that's not great for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be an area in which you probably experience more resistance when you try that. And the thing is, once something comes and you get a gut response, then you're like a total warrior in making that thing happen. You're just like waiting for the moment for your body to like, now, yes, this is the thing, go for it. And like, it doesn't have to be an invitation. You know what I mean? You could be listening to a talk and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sparked to go create this thing and write this thing. Great. You know what I mean? You're just waiting for that kind of just like spontaneous excitement. And like, so that that's your strategy, but then your inner authority is around how you're meant to make decisions, and your inner authority is all around your gut response. And so there's so much talk out there of like, follow your gut, listen to your gut. Not all of us have a gut response, but for you, it's everything. You are really meant to have like a full body yes in your gut if it's the correct thing for you. And a yes in your gut can feel like an expansive kind of a bubbling of energy, like a tingles that you feel, like an opening of your body. And a no can just feel like a contraction, like an exhaustion, a depletion. If you're not getting a full body yes in your gut, it either means it's not the right thing or it's not the right time yet. And so you might just be like, doesn't feel right. And then like a week later, you're like, oh my God, yes. And the gut is actually never a thing that you can rationalize or make sense of. So if you find yourself giving a reason for a decision, like, yeah, like I think that I should do this because of this, not your gut speaking. Your gut is like, this feels right. Don't know why. We'll find out why later. Obviously opposite the way most of us have been trained to operate. And the last piece that I'd share about the gut, and then I'd be so curious to hear your thoughts and whether it resonates, is that it's really powerful to have the people around you ask you very specific questions to help you access your gut. So if we were like going to go like out for dinner, I wouldn't say like, where do you want to go for dinner? I would say, do you want to go here or here? If somebody on your team, instead of being like, what do you think we should do about this? I would actually encourage them to ask you, do you think we should do this or this? When people give you like concrete things to respond to, or your partner's like, do you want to eat this for dinner or this? You might be like, yes, no. But if they ask you like, what do you want to do about a thing? Like you could go into your head and be like, anything's possible, And so that kind of specific yes, no, simple questions can help you access that truth very quickly and directly.
Yeah.
How does that feel to you?
Yeah, that's good for my team. That's always true or feels more true in the last few years where I've gotten better at delegation, where it's like, don't come to me with what should we do? Come to me with two choices and then make a recommendation. And then I can kind of feel or think whatever the answer for sure.
Yeah.
And then gut decisions, whether we call it gut or intuition, I'm curious if you would distinguish
we do
between the two, because I do. But in terms of just going with my gut or instinct or whatever around a decision, that's usually goes better for me.
Mm-hmm. And it's, we can so desire to explain everything, but the idea is that our minds can basically convince us like in or out of anything, And so it really is just a powerful way to be like, this feels right or it doesn't. And like, again, I don't totally know why, but I'm going to trust it because again, I can get in my head and convince myself in or out of basically everything. In terms of how do you distinguish gut and intuition?
Well, I want to hear from you first.
Okay. So there are different authorities and ways of making decisions in human design. So you're what we call a sacral authority, and that's going to be true for anyone who's gut. I'm an emotional authority. It means that I need to sleep on things. And for you, while clarity comes in the moment, I've got to sleep on it and like really give myself time to feel into it. There are also splenic authorities, and there are more than this, but splenic authorities are meant to trust their intuition in the moment, which is different than the gut. What I will tell you in your design is that you've got a really strong gut, you've got a really strong intuition. They're directly connected. They probably like collaborate all the time. But again, it's just making sure you have the clear gut response before you say yes. But in human design, we talk about intuition as just like a quiet knowing. It's just like a resonance that you feel. It's like tingles that you feel. It's a voice that you hear. It's super spontaneous. It comes out of nowhere and it's super quiet. And so it's especially important to have practices that kind of help you quiet down and hear your intuition, And so they're probably going to be like, again, saying the same thing and guiding in the same direction, but the intuition is a little bit more of a spontaneous knowing. And the gut is that kind of like visceral feeling in your belly that really operates in response.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you talk about the difference? Do you sense them both within yourself?
Yeah, I do. So gut is for me more primal, kind of animal,
Exactly.
sort of moving toward or moving away type of energy. Whereas
Exactly.
intuition for me is not, I think, how a lot of people think about it. So let's say I create a mess in my life.
Yeah.
Someone might judge me as you just sabotaged your own success, or you just sabotaged this situation. That's the kind of, or you undermined, the goal or something. And what I find is my intuition usually acts below my awareness and does create messes sometimes so that I can get to the next place and expose what's kind of bullshit. And
Totally.
so I'll create drama sometimes as a way to learn and to
From it. Yeah.
find the like answer and then move forward. So that's often not how people think of intuition, right?
Yeah, yeah. But it's a good reminder where again, it's like it might, again, I think our inner authority, whatever it is, like our inner knowing is really meant to guide us into the situations that are the right things for us to learn from so we can keep evolving. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean that it's going to be like, oh, the most successful thing immediately,
right.
but it's more the thing that's going to give you the insight you need to keep evolving. And also just to like know specifically for you what you actually are available for, what you
Yeah,
actually have the energy for in the next moment.
totally. So if I take off human design and we just talk about decision making, for example, what I kind of hear you saying is if we know ourselves and just how we operate, we can make a good decision. So if I know that it's actually better for me to sleep on it. So it seems like what I'm getting right now is that human design is a tool to help us become more self-aware, because a lot of people,
Mhm.
they might think, I know how to make a decision, but then they keep making sort of bad choices, for example, because
100%.
maybe they're doing something they're not sleeping on it, they're impulsive, or they're taking too long and they're actually not trusting that gut, like you said. So it seems like so much about we got to know ourselves.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's basically both about giving us like that self-knowledge of like how do we uniquely work, and like it might be different than the people around us, and then also like what are the tools to actually own that and step into it. But yeah, I think often what I say with human design is it's not about like changing who we are. It often just gives us permission to be ourselves.
Hmm.
I think when I sit with people, that more than anything what they feel is a sense of relief. They're like, oh my God, one, you're telling me everything that I already know and I've never actually allowed myself to step into.
Yeah.
And so I think it just gives them, that's what I felt when I discovered all that. I was like, oh my God, I get to be me and be successful doing that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've been trying to walk a whole different roadmap my entire life. So I think that I think it is so much around self acceptance and self knowledge and permission to walk a path that is uniquely going to work for us, even if it looks different than the people around us.
And it seems like this might delineate human design from, say, the Enneagram, where if I'm an Enneatype 3, there's still that nuanced layer of how we make decisions, how any 3 makes a decision, right? So I'm curious if you did study the Enneagram. Do you know it at all?
I know it a bit. I'm also three, but a very different type than you in human design.
Right.
So,
So you said
so
opposites. So if we're both 3s, like that's cool. We can bond around that. But there's sounds like we're very different if we keep going down deeper, right? To explore.
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
no.
just to give you an example of the difference, like for you, you've got that natural like creativity, life force, like you're here to do and build and create and bring things to life. Like I can't do that. And the minute I try to do that, I burn out very quickly.
Hmm.
I'm a projector in human design, which is so much around being like a leader and a guide and a teacher and like asking the right questions, and like being really like sensitive to other people, but like don't have the energy to like sustainably like create and do and build all day long, and for me, my energy operates a lot more in ebbs and flows. Like I really always built my business in partnership with somebody else because like where I thrive is in mastering and sharing human design.
Hmm.
In terms of all the other stuff in my business, I'm like, what? It's just
Yeah.
like, it's not where I really thrive, but my generator partner is so excellent at that. So it's been really nice to step into that. And also, yeah. And also like, that's part of why I was working at these startups and was just like obsessed with people. Like projectors just are obsessed with people and how they work. And again, of course that can be true for any type, but projectors just have a real gift of like tuning into that and really just being very sensitive to how people can kind of use their energy in the best way.
Hmm.
And like I said, in terms of decision making, like for me, it's very much around sleeping on things and taking my time and really feeling into it and not jumping into anything impulsively. So you can imagine in the 3 in the Enneagram, like if I try to be with that achieving energy, like if I try to do it like you, I'm probably not gonna be very good at it.
Right. Yeah.
But if I do it in my unique way, then I could find a whole lot of success, but it's probably going to look really different than yours.
Hey, every month I'm going to be doing a challenge. You've probably heard about it if you've been listening. You've got to be on my email list, however, to get in on the action. And you could win, a relationship course. You could win potentially coaching with me, no charge. You could win coaching with one of our coaches. There's lots of cool stuff that you can win if you play. How do you do that? All you have to do is be on my email list and look for the email that says personal update. In that email, I share a lot of personal wins and losses, highs and lows, podcasts I'm listening to, books I'm reading, favorite song, anything I'm watching, and what my challenges are, what my opportunities are, and of course, the challenge. So just go to relationshipschool.com/challenge. And you are going to be asked to just leave your email address. Okay, and then you're on my email list. Boom, done. And just make sure it doesn't go to spam. All right? relationshipschool.com/challenge. Well, I was just going to say, what is my chart? Is it a chart? Is that what you call it? Or just human? It's your human design. What do you call
Human
it?
design chart is great. Yeah.
What does my chart say are some of my foibles, weaknesses, pitfalls? I'm just curious about that part.
Yes, no, great question. So if you look at the chart, if you look it up, you'll see that there are some areas that are colored in and areas that are white and open. And the areas that are colored in are the areas where you really draw your energy from and kind of the things that power you. The areas that are kind of your potential foibles, like the areas where you are the most sensitive to other people's energy. So they're the areas where you can get the most taken off track, but also where you have the most to learn. And so one of the biggest areas I would say for you is your what we call an open emotional center. You are like so empathic.
Oh my God.
What do you say? It's so annoying.
Totally.
So you're just like wildly, like the most possible, actually sensitive to other people's emotions. And like, not only do you feel what they're feeling, you feel it like intensified within your own body, And so the shadow of that is like emotional overwhelm, like touchiness, nervousness, like trying to fix things that aren't yours to fix, like even like avoiding confrontation because it's just like, I don't even want to deal with all this stuff. I'm going to feel it if you get triggered. So like, I just feel it so much in my own body. And so much of your wisdom is like, just knowing that like so much of what you're feeling is not always your own. And like really having strong boundaries, knowing when to be in your own space. And also like, it probably makes you so good at what you do because you've got such a gift for really like tuning into like where people are and what they're feeling giving them language for it, because you feel it so much internally. But again, the work is to just not take it on as your own. Yeah. And this is do you feel that?
Oh yeah. Like I've had to work so fucking hard at boundaries in my, like, especially energetic boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I'm so empathic. I would call it empathy, right? 100%. Empathy, it's like a superpower, but it's also actually my kryptonite. It's the thing that is difficult for me also in partnership and close relationship.
Exactly. And, really interesting area to look at in partnership. My partner and I have this, but I always look at the kind of emotional dynamic because my partner is really similar to you in that he's super empathic. He takes in like all the emotions, but my design is like, I project out my emotions. So like when I'm feeling good, people are like, I feel great. When I'm low, they really feel it too. So it's been really useful to understand that dynamic because he, like you, often can feel what I'm feeling before I even know it, and it's really been a journey for him to be like, oh, this is not my stuff. I'm not going to take that personally. Like, Erin, go through your emotional wave. Like, I'll see you on the other side. I'm going to actually like take some space and be my own energy because like, I just know that you have to go through a wave and that's part of your process. Yeah. And so it's so, you can start to see where those dynamics are really useful in relationship to know where you're specifically taking in and being impacted by another person's energy.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Two more potential foibles for you. One is that, and this is a big one for honestly many of us, you also have what we call an open ego center. And it means that you might sometimes have an inconsistent sense of willpower and self-esteem, which means sometimes you might be like, I'm the best. I feel great. I'm so excellent. And like the next day you're like, I don't know, like, am I really good? And like, it can just vacillate. And honestly, the biggest potential shadow for you is trying to prove yourself. It's just like trying to prove that you're enough and that like you're a good partner and you're a good boss and you're a good whatever it is. Yeah. And so much of the wisdom and the lesson for you in this center, because like you said, the kryptonite is the same thing as the wisdom. It's, we get to decide where we fall on that spectrum, but like your lesson is that you're not here to prove a thing. And if you're ever doing a thing to prove that like you're a good friend or a good partner or a good parent, like it's just not going to be the right motivation for you. And so kind of like pulling back to make sure that's not the thing that's guiding you, but because that's an area that you're here to learn, you can be so supportive in helping other people kind of develop relationships with their own sense of like worth and self-esteem and all those things because you're so wise in that space.
Yeah, cool.
Do you feel that? Do you feel like that need to prove shows up for you?
Oh yeah. Kind of depends on what it is,
Of
obviously,
course.
and if I'm scared, um, there's a way in which I'll go into that habit, right? Or if I'm really pissed, it's like, oh yeah, I'll show you type of energy, right?
100%.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just like, again, I think I have a similar thing and it's been so useful whenever I'm making a commitment. It's like, where is this coming from? You know what I mean? Because like those open centers, those areas where we're sensitive are areas that we're here to learn from, but not like make decisions from, you know? So just kind of like getting a little bit more of a handle on them. The last one for you is your open head center. And it means that you've got so much capacity to be inspired, have lots of ideas, you know, and like, be like, but the shadow is just like feeling super scattered and like try to pursue all the ideas that come to you and like
Yeah.
bouncing off the wall with all the ideas and all the inspirations. And for you, it's like the lesson is that like not every idea that comes is worth pursuing. You're not going to be busy for everything. And also, I would say for you, it's probably good to have like and I'm sure you have had to, design this for yourself, especially writing a book, like just like very simple structure, where you have like a to-do list at the beginning of the day or the night before, where you're just like, these are the 2 to 3 things that I could do today that would leave me tonight feeling super satisfied. If
Hmm.
there's no structure, you might feel like super inspired throughout the day and end the day be like, don't know what I did.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the ADHD or just ADD, like
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah. The idea is sometimes it's just like a fire hose, right? And not all of them are good. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just like, and they're just going to flow through. And so for you, that's why tuning back into your gut is so important to be like, but do I actually have the energy for this? Is it actually the right use of my energy?
Hmm.
Can I share 2 more pieces that I think are interesting for people to look
Totally.
at?
Yeah.
So there is an aspect of our design called channels, and they are just like I said, I think earlier, they're just like our innate strengths. I'm not going to go through all of yours because honestly, you got a lot. But I would say like a big one for you, which is going to be really informative throughout your entire design, is the strength that you have of like innovation and transformation. And it basically is an energy or pressure that you feel to like transform anything you're part of, transform your life, transform your business, just like change things, make things better, improve things. But the energy of this really operates in a pulse, which means that there might be periods of your life where it's just like so much is happening. This is amazing. I feel like on fire. And then periods where it feels like nothing's happening, and like it's meant to be like a more melancholic, creative, inward time. And so just noticing where it's not about like, sustained creativity literally all the time, but it's more kind of noticing that pulsating energy if it happens and giving yourself permission to like go more inward and be more creative in those times where it feels like less is happening.
Nice. Good reminder.
Yeah. And then, there's an aspect of our design called our profile, and it's going to look like a weird fraction looking number. So your 4-6 profile. And it basically means that there are 2 pieces to it. One is that if anyone has a 4 in their profile, and again, if you want to look up your design, you can go to erinclairejones.com/lookup and look up the profile number. It will just say profile in a fraction. The 4 is around the fact that like, community is really important in your design, but also so many of your opportunities are meant to come from like your friends and your community and the people that you know. And so like, and it's good for you to be like friends with the people that you work with, and like doing business with people that were like friends first. And so just like your community is such a well of opportunity for you. So kind of just like always actively nourishing and cultivating just like your community, your network, your friendships.
Cool. Yeah.
And is that what you say?
Another good reminder. Yeah. Great.
And then another piece, which I also have in my design, which was like a big lesson. You also have, this is the 6 in the profile. And it means that you're like a very natural role model. You carry this natural authority. You like people that you might naturally like inspire trust in people. Like they might come to you for guidance. But the people that have this often tend to live their life in 3 phases, where the first 30 years is like a lot of trial and error and like bumping into things and making mistakes
Yeah.
and just like experimenting. And it's like honestly not a time to make huge commitments. I
Yeah.
would like start a company, leave, and then the 30 to 50 is a time of really, it's honestly just like, observing, like processing all the things that you've learned, just like becoming more of a natural, like just like a wise person where people come to you for guidance and you kind of are sitting back and like witnessing it all and like just sitting in it a little bit more. But you're actually meant to hit your prime when you turn 50. And it doesn't actually mean that there's anything to wait for. It just means that it's like when you turn 50, there's just like such a groundedness and such an embodiment where you inspire authenticity with you just being yourself,
Mhm.
And so I think it's just such a good reminder in some ways that it's just meant to keep getting better and better and better. And there's just like a whole new door that opens up when you turn 50.
Very cool.
So it's exciting.
Awesome. Wow, that's cool. Thanks for the download here.
Yeah, I hope that resonates.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, all of it feels true, you know.
Yes.
I'm curious how you guide people when there's life traumas. Um, and childhood trauma or trauma at age 28 or 35. There's a big, massive life trauma. I'm curious
Yeah.
how human design deals with that.
Yeah, human design is not going to tell us what's going to happen in our life. It's not predictive in any way. And, whether it is a very serious trauma, we often all discover human design being very conditioned in a very different way. So I think that, like, I'm not a trauma specialist. And, like, I think that my work with human design is really around reminding people of their essence.
Hmm.
And, like, I think really reminding people of their potential. And often people will recognize it, you know what I mean? Especially like recognize it like, oh my God, that's how I was showing up when I was 5, and then like,
Yeah.
and then all these things happened. And so I think that I think that can be the magic of reminding people of it. But again, the coming back into it and trust and all those tools, like obviously the circumstances are going to look really different for each of us, but I think that it can be a really supportive tool of just like reminding us what's possible. And also kind of reminding us that like that uniqueness, that different powerful way we express when we were young is actually our magic. I think we often make ourselves wrong for the things that make us unique. And we're like, can't everyone do that? Or like, maybe that's not actually that special. But I think being reminded of it, I think can really just make people feel really relieved and hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think what I want to sort of remind the listener here is that I'm hearing human design is a tool to remind us of who we are and our
Yep.
essence. And because we get lost, right? We get overwhelmed and confused and stuck and you name
100%.
it, right? So, what a powerful tool, because sometimes we do feel like it's hard to find that essence, right? It's
Mm,
just we're in so much overwhelm or pain or whatever that we forgot or we don't know where it is. And then the
totally.
other piece is what it's not. I think that's important for the listener also to get like, look, this isn't a trauma resolution tool, or this isn't
Nope.
an astrology chart where in 5, it's going to say you're going to be successful in 5 years or
Absolutely not.
something like that. I think that's important to know what human design's limitations are as well, so that we can, as personal growth oriented people, we can go find the tools that we do need to help us with whatever particular leg on their journey we're in.
Yep. I love that. I think that is very important. And I think what you can think of human design as is just like a way to kind of acquaint you with like your operating system. Like, what is your unique
Yeah.
operating system? And once you flow with it, you'll probably find a little bit more flow in your life versus
Hmm.
when you're resisting it, it can be, like you said, a lot more resistance. So, but again, it is one tool of many. And I think it is a good reminder that like when I'm sitting with people, it's not like I'm going to tell them like where they're going to be in 5 years or what the ideal career is, but I can actually really acquaint them with like how to assess that for themselves and where they might kind of find the most satisfaction. But yeah, they all work together. And I work with a lot of skeptics, I'll also say. So I just like, again, that's why I say I work with a lot of teams, a lot of people are like, this is crazy, but it resonates. And I just think my reminder again is like, it's not a belief system, it's a tool. Use it in a way that feels empowering. Let it go if it doesn't feel that way. And I think that often like allows people to just like engage with it in a way that feels exciting and fun, and not a thing that like puts them in a box or feels limiting.
Yeah, cool. Awesome, Erin. As we wind down, where can people find more about you, human design? What are some of the resources and tools?
Yeah. So I'm Erin Claire Jones everywhere. I share a lot on Instagram at Erin Claire Jones. My website is erinclairejones.com. I gave you guys that link to look up your design, but if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper, one of the best places to start is I have an offering called the Blueprint, which is basically a 30 plus page PDF that walks you through your unique design. And just like the most accessible, practical way, kind of giving you all the key pieces you need to know, everything we talked about today for Jason and so much more. We're doing a discount code. What do you like the codes to be? Do you have a code that you use? Jason?
Sure. Sounds good. Easy. Jason
Okay,
with a Y.
Jason. Perfect. So that will be the code. And then I also offer individual sessions, partnership sessions, team sessions if you want to dive deeper, either individually or even looking relationally at your family, your partnership, your team, any of that.
Nice. Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I ask one more question here that I ask all our guests. One of our missions is to help a lot of young people get more relationally astute and aware of
I love it.
themselves and other people, and how do we work through conflict, and how do we do this thing called love. And if I had 1,000 teens in an auditorium and I was going to ask them or teach them something rather about love or relationships, and you could whisper in my ear, what would you want me to tell them?
I think it would just be a reminder that like we're all meant to do things differently. And I think the minute you expect a friend or a partner to be more similar to you or different than what they are, it's probably going to be really dissatisfying. But the minute you embrace the fact they might they might operate totally differently than you, there's just so much more potential for like compassion and understanding and connection. And so just appreciating how different we are and different our needs each of us are, and not projecting our experience on everyone else.
Awesome. Cool. Erin, thanks so much. Good hanging out with you. And thanks for the
Yeah,
great reflection of my essence.
it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Erin. Go to her website, erinclairejones.com. And it sounds like she's got a free resource there for us. Be erinclairejones.com/Jason, I believe, if you want to deal on some of her human design tools and resources. You can also, I think, take that free thing she said right on her website. So check that out, okay? Nice. And what's your action step today? Well, I want you to reflect, okay? And you can do this with a friend, ideally, right? With a friend, partner, someone you know. And you're going to reflect on your essence. How well do I know myself and my essence, the core of my being? How well do I know that? And describe it to yourself in your journal and then to your friend. My essence as a person is, right? Like I could say, based on my human design right there, my essence is a manifester, creator, visionary, builder, right? I could say something like that because that's my life experience. That matches with who I see myself as I am. And then I could go deeper, right? I could say, well, what's in the way, or what gets in the way of me being in touch with my essence? Well, taking care of other people, or being too busy, or not setting boundaries and giving myself creative time. And I think it's useful for you to have a conversation in your journal and then with someone else about your essence. Okay, so do that. Excellent. And a couple more action steps here for you. If you want to be on my monthly challenge, all right, where I challenge you to do something funny or interesting or deep, you got to be on my newsletter. It's the only place that I'm offering this challenge. Okay, relationshipschool.com/challenge. That's the place. All right. And then if you want to be on a live call with me, that's relationshipschool.com/training. Right. I'm leading webinars all the time, and I would love to see you if we've never met and have you ask a question. Right. Great. Okay, folks. Thanks, everybody. Here's to your essence, and make sure you get connected and stay connected out there, because it's just going to be a matter of time before you're disconnected again. Okay, all the best. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.